All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the ultimate survival guide for protecting your home from Chicagoland's famously brutal weather. If you live in Elmwood Park, you already know our seasons don't mess around. They can be incredibly unforgiving. So today, we're decoding those complex roofing costs, we're looking at hyper-local weather threats, and we're figuring out exactly how to avoid predatory contractors. Look, whether your home is a century old or literally just built last year, the roof over your head is your primary shield. So let's get you prepared. We've set this up as a chronological playbook to walk you through exactly what you need to know. We're hitting 5 key areas today: the Elmwood Park elements, spotting hidden roof damage, the professional repair process, breaking down roofing costs, and finally, spotting contractor red flags. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the Elmwood Park elements. Okay, let's look at this definition, because honestly, understanding this one single concept explains so much about why roofs fail around here. It's called the freeze-thaw cycle. Basically, water finds its way into these tiny microscopic cracks in your roof. Then, the temperature plummets, the water freezes, and it expands, pushing that opening just a little bit wider. The next day, it melts, seeps down even deeper, and freezes all over again. It's like a giant, slow-motion wedge. This cycle is absolutely the biggest culprit for winter roof damage in Illinois, especially if you've got north-facing roof sections or spots that don't get much sun, because that ice just sits there and goes to work on your shingles. Now, this is fascinating. Your specific neighborhood right here in Elmwood Park actually dictates exactly how your roof is going to age and eventually fail. If you're living in one of our gorgeous 1920s bungalows, there's a good chance your roof is reaching the end of its service life, and those older materials just don't meet modern wind standards. Now, if you're over near Harlem Avenue, you are dealing with intense wind uplift thanks to those commercial building wind tunnels. And if you're by the north branch of the river, that higher local humidity literally accelerates the rotting of your underlayment and creates the absolute perfect conditions for winter ice dams. Geography changes everything, right?
Moving right along to Section 2, spotting hidden roof damage.
I really want you to let this quote sink in for a second. Small problems become expensive disasters when ignored. Missing a couple of shingles or putting off fixing a loose piece of metal flashing might not feel like an emergency today. But you are effectively leaving the front door wide open for wind-driven rain to just soak into your walls, completely unseen. So what exactly are we looking for? Well, these are the classic symptoms of a roof on its last legs. First, keep an eye out for asphalt shingles shedding their protective granules into your gutters, or starting to curl up at the edges. That means they are baking in the summer heat and losing their UV protection. But here's a curveball. The metal flashing around things like your chimneys, vents, and skylights, that usually fails way before the actual shingles do, just from the constant expansion and contraction of temperature swings. You also want to watch out for ice dams backing water up under your shingles in the winter, and keep an eye on your roof's valleys and ridge caps, since they take the absolute brunt of the water flow and wind.
Here is a huge misconception a lot of homeowners have. Water stains on your ceiling almost never appear directly below the actual leak. Water is incredibly sneaky. It travels through the underlayment, soaks the insulation, runs along the rafters, and then finally pulls and drips onto your drywall. So that water stain above your living room couch, the actual hole in the roof, could literally be 10 feet away. This is exactly why you need a professional to trace the true entry point rather than just slapping a patch directly above the stain.
Okay, Section 3, the professional repair process. Let's take the anxiety out of this. Once you spot damage, there is a very exact, predictable path to getting it fixed. Step 1 is a thorough inspection and a written estimate. Step 2 is the actual repair, installation by a licensed crew. And Step 3 is the final completion walkthrough where you secure your warranty documents. It really should be just that straightforward. Setting realistic expectations is absolutely crucial. So how long does this whole shebang actually take here in the Chicago area? Well, a reputable company should respond to an active emergency leak within 24 hours to at least get a tarp on it. The actual replacement of a typical 2,000 square foot roof, that usually takes 1 to 3 days. But keep in mind, if you're picking premium or non-stocked materials, you've got to add 3 to 7 days for delivery. And if we're talking about a storm damage insurance claim, expect that approval process to add anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks to your timeline. 100 square feet. Stick that number in your brain. Why? Because Cook County building codes require official permits for any roof repair that exceeds 100 square feet. And guys, this isn't just annoying bureaucratic red tape. It ensures proper installation standards are actually being met, things like mandatory underlayment and ice barriers. If you skip this permit, you can literally void your insurance, and it will cause massive headaches if you ever try to sell your home.
Section 4, breaking down roofing costs.
Let's pull back the curtain on the finances here. I want you to really think about this for a second. What do you think is the absolute most expensive part of replacing a roof? When you're staring at an estimate, it's totally natural to assume the physical shingles are the main cost, but the reality is actually pretty surprising. Look at this breakdown. Skilled labor for the highly dangerous work of tear-off and installation actually takes the biggest slice of your budget. Think about it. You've got steep pitches, multi-story homes, strict safety gear. All of that drives up labor hours. That's followed by your premium materials, and then, very often, unexpected decking rot that you can't even see until the old roof is completely ripped off. Finally, waste and dumpster fees take up a surprisingly large, totally unavoidable slice of the pie. Trying to skimp on any of these to save a few bucks, especially labor and underlayment, is just a massive risk. This completely shatters the idea that you can just use a flat square foot multiplier to guess your roofing costs. A typical 2,000 square foot home is highly complex. We're talking chimneys, multiple valleys, steep pitches, maybe even multiple old layers of shingles that have to be torn off. Now compare that to a standard 20 by 20 detached garage. The garage has a much lower per square foot cost because it has super simple roof lines, uses basic materials, and the crew mobilization is just way cheaper. It's basically night and day.
And finally, Section 5, Spotting Contractor Red Flags.
Listen close because this is some high-stakes insider info right here. This is a list of things you should absolutely never say to a contractor during an estimate. First, never give away your leverage by saying, "I haven't gotten other bids." Second, do not reveal your exact insurance payout. Predatory roofers will literally just inflate their prices to magically match that exact dollar amount. Also, try not to demand a desperate timeline unless it's a true water pouring in emergency, because rush jobs invite premium pricing. And finally, never ever ask to skip those Cook County permits to save money. You're just asking for a non-compliant, uninspected roof. Okay, let's flip it around. What are the major red flags they might show you? If a roofer does any of these, walk away immediately. Refusing to show proof of insurance or not having a physical address in the local suburbs, that means they might just vanish after a storm. Demanding full payment upfront is an absolute no way. But here's a really subtle one. If they don't physically stick their head up into your attic to check the decking, they are completely guessing at the condition of your roof's foundation. Also, watch out for guys who refuse to pull those permits or who use vague terms on their estimate like premium shingles instead of actually listing the manufacturer and product line. They are almost certainly trying to hide cheap materials.
So I'm going to leave you with this one thought to consider. Are you waiting for material prices to magically drop? Or are you going to stop hidden rot from destroying your largest financial investment today? Because the data tells us that roofing material prices are highly unlikely to drop anytime soon. Delaying this kind of necessary maintenance almost always costs you far more in the long run, while water silently rots your framing. Thanks so much for tuning into this explainer. Stay dry, stay informed, and go protect that home of yours.